It's elimination day for the Nathan Young Designs Truck Series. After tonight, we'll eliminate 4 drivers en route to Homestead next week, where a final 4 will battle it out for championship bragging rights. And what better place to decide who goes home than Chicagoland Speedway, a 1.5-mile track that is anything but cookie cutter. Stay tuned to find out who's hot and who's not heading into Homestead next week. And Finian, we got point situation to look out for, and who's looking good and who's not for next week. And I don't lost connection with Finian there. Hopefully he can come back at some point.
Oh, sorry, I forgot.
There he is.
Put my thing to a button.
All right, Finian, what's the point situation for next week here?
Yeah, so point situation is looking like Peter Short. He's way to the good, 49 points above the cut line in Group 2, so he's looking pretty fine. Also looking good is Johnny Thomas in the 83. He's 30 points ahead in Group 1, and then also in Group 1 is Paul Ross. He's 22 points ahead of the cut. So he's also looking pretty good. The main battle I think we're going to have to watch tonight, though, in Group 2 is between Zielinski and Morris, only separated by 7 points between the two, and that's for the last playoff spot. So that's where you could expect those guys to go all out trying to make it to this last championship round.
All right, so there is your points picture. You can see the grid up on your screen there. So next week we head to Homestead, another 1.5-mile track, but it's very different than Chicagoland, Finian. But this track offers a lot of unique characteristics versus a lot of other 1.5 milers, and one of the things here is that this track is rough and it chews up tires.
Yeah, it chews up tires. So these guys are gonna have to watch the tire wear later on in the run, and it's a lot different. The truck, the way it handles from the beginning to the end of the run. At the beginning of the run, you can pretty much almost go full throttle. You might have to let off just a little bit on the gas, but you can pretty much full throttle it. But later on, you're gonna have to let off more and more off the gas and battle a loose handling car as the run goes on.
All right, well, looking at the qualifying results right now, the 27 of Thomas Morris has only laid down a time in good enough for 13th. But Levi Zielinski, the guy he's battling, is up in that 4th spot right now. And look at Tate Lytle jumping to 2nd on the board. And, of course, Peter Short in the 22 coming across the line here as well. And maybe jump up a little bit higher than 6th. No, he'll stay there for now. But, Finian, as we look forward, I mean, this is a 100-lap race, so relatively short. You see Peter Short go wildly into the wall there, upside down in turn 1. We look towards the championship picture. And 100 laps here tonight. This is not a long race. This is a pretty short race here by Nathan Young Design Truck Series standards. So does that up the intensity a little bit, especially for guys like Zielinski and Morris?
Yeah, those guys are going to pretty much have to give it their all every single lap. There's not a lot of time to really play around. You got to be on your all every single lap, because if you make a mistake earlier on, you're going to have pretty much less time than you would expect to get back up from the mistake, whatever it may be. So you got to be on point the entire night, otherwise you can risk being kept out of the championship.
All right, well, looking at the qualifying, I also want to take note to how close everything is. Right now, I'm going to read the gaps between the individual cars. It's 6 100ths back to Tate Lytle from Paul Ross, and then back to Salmaso, 2 1,000ths, and then 19 1,000ths back to Zielinski, 9 thousandths back to Peter Short, 17 thousandths to Todd Smith. It's a tight grid up front here, Finian, and these 1.5-mile racetracks give you a lot of room to play.
Yeah, and considering it's so close, that means we're probably going to see a lot of action, especially on the restarts. We might see it maybe a little bit single-liney for the first few laps. So once the tires start wearing out, we should see a bunch of guys using different lines and being able to stick with each other as the run goes on. And
it's a very overcast day here today in Chicago and Joliet, Illinois. So let's take a look at the air temp. 65 degrees in the air, 65 on the track. Overcast conditions, a slight breeze out of the southwest. Vinny, this place is cold. It's going to be gripped up. And we know Chicago is usually better in terms of the racing product in the hot temperatures when it gets slicked up. But with the trucks, they kind of always have grip. So I think it's just going to be a lot more full throttle than we were expecting, even late in the run.
Yeah, I think what that grip also means here, we got that these guys will have a lot more to play around with, and can really make some interesting moves on their competitors. So we should be looking forward to that. Because typically with the loose car, you do have, it makes the racing more exciting because you see guys sliding off the corners. It's kind of harder to make a pass or make a move because you have to worry about the truck, or in this case, getting loose on you. But considering how grippy it is tonight, these guys have a lot to really play around with, and we should see some fun racing.
All right, well, let's take a look at the grid. It's going to roll along the bottom of your screen. Finian's not here with me physically tonight, so he'll have to just stand by, and we'll let that roll at the bottom of the screen. But look who's on pole, that 18 to Paul Ross, looking strong here again at Chicago. And looking again now, Todd Smith up there looks like he's qualified in the 6th spot in that Chevy Silverado in the outside lane with the Monster Energy logo on the hood of that number 1. He's also got a pretty good qualifying spot. Peter Short starting 5th in that Kansas City Southern Tundra. And I think he'll be a player, as he always is here at these 1.5-mile tracks. Well, we're getting gridded up here. Finney, you got to remember you got your button there tonight.
Yeah. Oh, I thought I thought you were gonna take it over from here. I was just waiting on standby. But yeah.
I wasn't sure if you were gonna fill in the gap or you're just gonna sit there.
Yeah. I was just gonna let you take care of it for the gridding.
I can't believe people do this from a distance every time. We're so used to being physically in the same area together. It's tricky to not do it. But again, yeah, as I was saying there, so we got the 18 of Paul Ross on pole, 56 of Lytle on the outside. That 56 car's looking real strong.
Yeah, I'm really impressed by his qualifying. Probably one of his best qualifying efforts all season. He's usually qualified pretty decent, but I think this is probably the first time we've seen him on the front row. So a fantastic job by the 56. Some other notables up there. Tomaso qualified in 3rd. Great qualifying effort from him. So I expect some stuff to come out of him. Also, Chad Brown. How about Chad Brown qualifying in 8th? Good qualifying position for him. And trying to look at anyone that was supposed to be towards the back. Grunberg's in the back. He hasn't set down a time, and neither has Chuck Sweeting.
Yeah, Grunberg didn't set a time. That's not going to matter. He'll be charging to the front very quickly. It was New Hampshire, I believe, a couple weeks ago that he absolutely dominated in that 54 truck. And I expect to see him be very fast up here this week as well. But again, that 18 truck on the pole here, and that's not much of a surprise. Paul Ross has been extremely quick all season, but I mean, if you look at the point situation there, Finian, Peter Short has been consistently outperforming Paul Ross, at least in the latter half of the season. So I wonder when we get to Homestead next week, is Paul Ross going to have anything for Peter Short, or is it going to be more of a Peter Short domination fest? And I'm curious about your opinion on that.
I think he definitely has something for him. I would say, if anyone, he's one of the only trucks that could really give something to Peter Short. Again, it just depends on how their races because anything could really happen at a Homestead. We just never know. So I would say, if anyone's got a shot to give Peter Short a fight, I gotta say it's that 18 truck.
All right, it looks like Todd Smith is having some trouble with the internet there, and is kind of blinking in and out. So hopefully he can hang on to that connection and managed to race with that 6th starting spot. But the pace car is coming out of turn 4. Finney, you know what that means. 100 laps at Chicagoland Speedway. It's the final race in this round to eliminate 4 drivers to go to Homestead next week to battle for the championship, and we're green at Chicago. Paul Ross leads them down.
Yeah, and Ross, the inside line in general, just got a great start. Lytle, not so much. He's going to fall back all the way to 3rd, and that's going to move Salmaso up to 2nd.
And look at Peter Short dogging the rear end of Lytle coming off of turn 2, and we've always seen that be this back straightaway is not very straight, and that kind of, if you're not looking where you're going, you can run into that wall because your visibility is not that great at the front of these trucks.
Yeah, you can already see the top 5 kind of separating themselves from the rest of the field, all pretty single file, and we can expect this to be like this for the first few laps. Once the tires start wearing in, we're going to see guys probably try some different lines.
And a lot of action going on around the 7th spot. There's Matt Kingston in the 65 truck on the outside of Todd Smith right now. That's for 6th. And just behind them, Tanner Sharp in the 76. He's got Chad Brown to the outside, and Sharp's going to slide up in front of the 64 off the exit of turn 2. Looking back further, there is the 52 of James Miller tucked right up underneath Matt Grunberg in that 54. And Grunberg started in the 19th spot. He's up 3 spots already, climbing up very quickly in that 54 truck, and we expect him to be close to the front by the end of the race.
Yeah, already up into 16th, and again, not wasting any time tonight trying to move towards the front of the field, and we expect them to be at the top 5 potentially at some form tonight. It's just more of a matter of when he is going to be able to get up there.
And look at the 46 of Kyle Hanshaw back here for 20th, running the breast cancer awareness ribbon on the hood. Remember, it's October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and good to see Kyle Hanshaw bringing attention to that. But let's head back up to the battle for 7th and 8th. That's Matt Kingston there in the 65. Look at Johnny Thomas in the 83. One of the playoff drivers sitting pretty there in group number 1. Off the back straightaway now. Everyone's kind of single-filed themselves out there, Finian, so it looks like everyone's kind of getting into the groove, getting comfortable here. And again, this might be the situation that we always talk about where the track is cool and the tires are fresh, so there's not a whole lot of ability to move forward right now. Everyone's just got the throttle pegged and slinging it around the best way they can find.
But it's almost like a draft track at this point. Pretty much the only way guys are going to be able to move forward is by kind of almost drafting up to the driver ahead of them. And you wouldn't really think so at a track like Chicagoland, but considering the trucks have a lot less power than the Cup cars, they're going a lot slower and can pretty much almost full throttle at the first 3 to 5 laps. So these guys are pretty much going to be relying on the draft to kind of catch the guy ahead of them at first, and then from there on out, it's going to be handling.
We're away on to lap 6 now. Chad Brown in that 64 running 10th right now, but here comes David Wilson in the 39. Wilson's another guy that's had a real good charge in the late parts of the season here, especially at Circuit of the Americas. He was a threat there, and then I believe it was Southern National that he had a real good race there. So Wilson in that 39, he's definitely a threat, and we'll look into next season to see that truck potentially be a playoff driver. Real good lately, and here he is closing in on Chad Brown for that 9th spot.
Yeah, again, one of those guys just wasting no time trying to get to the front. And he actually lost a spot. He started in 10th. He's going to just be in 10th right now as they cross the line. He's going to look on 9th ahead with Chad Brown and Tanner Sharp ahead. But again, strong-looking truck, so we can expect a lot out of him as the night goes on.
Riding on board now with Richard Hines in the 87, watching that battle with the 64 and the 39 as they head off into turn 3. And you can hear just a light breathe in the throttle for Hines as he's carrying about 170 mid-corner, so the speeds are up and so is the grip. And we'll head back forward. Peter Short is dogging the rear bumper of that 56 at Tate Lytle.
Yeah, it looks like Todd Smith in the one he's pulled off the pull off to the apron.
Yeah, I think he's battling internet issues right now, continuously blinking, so I think he's doing that for the safety of all the other competitors. And hopefully that'll sort itself out soon. Riding on board now at the rear of Tate Lytle, 186. So again, the speeds here, only about a 15-mile-an-hour differential. Actually, really only a 10-mile differential in the corners. So you're so on throttle here, Finney. It makes it hard for these guys to pass. The draft, you mentioned it, it's kind of like a draft track, but the draft isn't that strong right now, at least in these conditions, and these trucks are struggling to find their way around each other.
Yeah, draft's pretty much just gonna get you up to the guy in front of you, but anything else, you're gonna have to do it on your own. So again, these guys are gonna have to wait a little bit for the tires to kind of come alive. And I'm looking at a nice fight between Chad Brown and Tanner Sharp. You see Brown dive all the way to the bottom, below the white line. You can use that here, and he's using it to his full advantage. He's gonna try to get clear of Tanner Sharp.
And just behind them, here comes Matt Grunberg up to 12th now, side by side with Thomas Morris. And Morris is another guy that's got to outperform the 59 if he wants to beat him here today and move himself on into Homestead. And Morris has been very quiet lately in the playoffs, and at Talladega especially. Late in the back, kept himself out of trouble and managed to get a 12th place finish there after Zielinski had a pretty bad ending to the race. So Morris has been playing it safe, and it's paid off to this point, but now he's got to go up there and be aggressive.
Yeah, he does have a little bit of a points gap to play with. He has about a 7-point gap to Zielinski to the good. But Zielinski are now running in 5th, and looking at Morris, he's running all the way in 12th. So that's pretty much all it takes to really get Zielinski in. And remember, these guys do get points halfway through the race for the top 10 drivers. No caution is going to be needed for that, so they just awarded the points. So he's got to be on top of his game if he wants to secure that spot.
As we barrel off into turn 1, Grunberg is looking to the inside of Richard Hines now. That'll be for 11, so Grunberg move him up to 12th from 19th, so up 7 spots already. He looks like he's one of the only trucks that can actually get past his done, but let's head over to our leader, Paul Ross. He's pulled out to a 1.5-second lead and continues to extend it lap after lap.
Yeah, you can really tell that he's been doing a lot of practice here. He's just doing a phenomenal job, able to break away from everyone else. And then you see behind them Salmaso, Lytle, and Short all kind of bunched up together. And they're kind of engaged in a fight, but no one's winning at the moment. And
looks like there's actually a pretty good battle, as we mentioned, going back to Grunberg. He's gotten around the 87 of Hines. Oh, look at Tanner Sharp jumping out to the inside of Chad Brown and almost chopped the nose of the 54 of Grunberg as they dive off into 3. And Grunberg continues his forward climb out of turn 4. Now Sharp's going to be middle 3 wide here if he's not careful. And shuts the door on Grunberg crossing the start-finish line. Throws a block.
Yeah, great stuff going on here. And here comes Grunberg charging to the inside of Chad Brown and also trying to get Tanner Sharp. He's trying to do a 2-for-1 as they head onto the back straightaway.
Oh, middle 3 wide is the 87, and Thomas Morris backs out of that. And allows Hines to collect it, but this is a big gaggle of cars, about 7-8 trucks involved in this, and they got to be careful here because I see some red spoilers, and one of them is that 27 of Thomas Morris.
Yeah, he's kind of locked in the middle of all of this stuff going on around him, and this is one of those situations where your night can go from not really bad, but it can go from all right to worse if you get involved in a wreck. And that typically happens when a lot of guys are bunched up like this, so you never know. And it's one of those things where anything could happen.
Look at Chad Brown slicing and dicing here, back down to the inside of Tanner Sharp behind Gruenberg, and he'll try to take that spot away. Here comes the 52 of James Miller. Where did he come from up the middle, 3 wide out of turn 4?
Yeah, this is one of the first times I've seen 3 wide. These guys are in the back, very racy.
And there's the 24, Justin Kolb there on the inside. Rooster Teeth 52. Tucking in behind. He's pushing up the racetrack a little bit mid-corner, and there's a big aero bubble behind this massive group of trucks here. These things are shaped like refrigerators, and they leave a massive hole in the air, so it's really hard to get the nose pointed in situations like this.
Also, an update towards the front of the field. Levi Zielinski just got around Peter Short for 4th. Short now will drop back to 5th place.
Yeah, so Short started 5th, so he's kind of, he moved up to 4th real quick and then kind of dropped back to where he started. So Short struggling with forward progress, but this battle for what is essentially 10th place with Tanner Sharp leading this group, this is really, really aggressive here, Finian, and this is what I see becoming a trouble spot here as people start to lose their patience.
Oh, yeah, definitely so, and especially when you see a lot of trucks so close together, you want to try to get around as many of them as possible. That's where we start to see some very, I wouldn't say desperate moves, but very extravagant moves by some drivers trying to pass as many trucks as possible.
Riding on board with the 87 of Richard Hines, who's kind of behind all this. And what do you do if you're Richard Hines? I mean, there's a big wall of trucks in front of you. You want to move yourself forward, but there's nowhere to go.
It's kind of just a situation where you need to pick and choose your battles. You don't want to do something you would regret by getting into a fellow competitor. So, especially you don't also want to piss off anyone this early in the race. So it's kind of just just plan your moves out, see where everyone's running, try not to do anything stupid. That's probably the best policy.
All right, we'll cut away from this battle to head back up to the battle for 3rd, and here comes Levi Zielinski in that 59. He's doing everything he needs to do to keep himself above that cut line heading into Homestead.
Yeah, and he's trying to look to the outside now of Tate Lytle, and that would put him way to the good if he can secure 3rd place. But again, this is a driver looking like he's ready to take on everyone else in the Final 4, and this is exactly what you need to do, and it's a great motivator looking on to next week, and he's doing a fantastic job tonight.
And just remember, a couple weeks ago, Zielinski was in danger of not moving on at all after the potential penalty at Talladega that he protested and successfully won. That could have been the end of his championship hope, so you got to look back at that as really the game changer for that 59 truck. Really didn't think he would be in this position, but after protesting that penalty, it was overturned, and here he is racing for a championship spot heading into next week at Homestead.
And I mean, he pretty much stepped up to the plate after that, and he finished 5th last week at New Hampshire. Not last week, but I believe 2 weeks ago at New Hampshire. So he's been trying to get these good finishes and been doing a great job of doing what he needs to do right now. Again, running in the top 5 and doing his best that he can. And it, from the looks of it right now, looks like it might be enough.
Well, we're already 20% of the way done with this race here, Finney. It is flying through. 21 laps already complete. We have about 41 minutes if it continues to go green, but I have a sneaking suspicion it's not going to go green as we look back at that battle. Look at this on the front straightaway here around Chad Brown. 3 wide for, this is all for basically 12th spot here, but these guys are driving like it's for 1st.
Yeah, this is one of those things where you can see everyone's just trying to pass as many trucks as possible. Like I was saying, it's all close together. Almost looks like a pack race the way that they're racing. They're side by side, and just trying to just dodge and weave. And it's working to an extent, but you got to wonder at one point when does the one driver take it a bit too far and causes an incident.
Well, we're about halfway through a fuel run here, Finian. So these guys, the tires are going to start to go away. The fuel burns off. It's going to get a little bit lighter in the rear. The truck will rotate a little bit better, but you see the 64 and Chad Brown kind of getting sucked middle 3 wide. He's been going backwards the last couple laps, and Justin Kolb goes around the outside. And there's Chuck Sweeting on the bottom trying to take advantage of it.
Yeah, it was a solid move by that 24 truck. He just did a 2-for-1. in 1 and 2, and he's going to secure those positions. But yeah, Chad Brown looks like he's actually kind of struggling a bit now as Hines looks to his inside.
Oh, there was a dodgy moment there. Hines drops down to the apron. You see a lot of guys doing that, and it's not typically something you see, especially in the cup side of things. You don't typically see people dropping to the apron on the straightaways to get extra speed. It's not usually very advantageous, but in the trucks, you're just looking for every little bit of an advantage you can because the tires are not wearing fast enough to really gain an advantage on your competitor by saving tires.
Yeah, and also just considering the nature of the trucks, it's a lot more planted compared to their cup car counterparts. And really, part of the reason you don't see cup guys do that is because getting down there makes the car really squirrely. And considering the overcast conditions and just because it's a truck, it's very easy to get down there, and it's very advantageous.
Battle for third going on now. Tate Lytle, Levi Zielinski tucked up nose to tail. This is all going on 3.2 seconds behind Paul Ross, and here goes Zielinski chucking it down the inside, drives up alongside the door of the 56, but here's where you see the multiple lines start to play off here as you see the 56 going to get a run onto the front straightaway, but Zielinski had a pretty good corner exit, but still is the 56 will clear him heading off into turn 1, but Zielinski will have to dive back down again and try it again the shorter way around.
Yeah, and it looks like the inside line is pretty good, but I think out of 2 especially, that top lane is just very dominant, especially considering the curved nature of the back straightaway.
So Lytle holds on to the spot for now, but Zielinski has to start worrying about that 22 of Peter Short, because Short's right on the bottom hooking that white line. That's an interesting line that we haven't really seen a whole lot of yet tonight. And here he is trying to close back in on this battle for third in that Kansas City Southern Tundra.
Also, if you look not too far behind is a new challenger that's about to appear. That's the 54, Matt Grunberg. He's on the inside of Johnny Thomas and is just about to clear him, and he's going to move all the way up into sixth place. That's Grunberg. So he's doing a phenomenal job. Again, started all the way back in 19th, is in 6th, only on lap 27. That's an impressive feat there.
Yeah, I don't think the competitors are going to like this here, but he has been flying. He's running very similar lap times to the leaders. And he is marching his way forward, and he's up 13 spots, which is really, really impressive. 28 laps in there, Finney, and that's one pass every 2 laps or about. So he is charging forward, and we knew for sure the 54 was going to be a force to reckon with at some point in this race. I didn't think it'd be by the halfway point though, and he's flying and beginning to catch this group as here comes Zielinski trying the outside lane now in 3 and 4. So Zielinski's moving around, trying different lanes. That's something I really like to see out of a driver, especially because next week at Homestead is very similar in the different lines that you can take. You got to be creative. You can't keep doing the same thing you're always doing and expect to pass the guy in front of you.
The only thing, though, is that Zielinski, as he keeps trying to work on Lytle, that's going to give Peter Short potentially an opportunity to get around him. So he's got to not just watch the windshield in front of him, also look in his mirror and see what Peter Short's doing, because he definitely doesn't want to lose a position.
And Peter Short still running that bottom lane. You see the track rubbering up just a little bit on the bottom side there, and while you see Short get a little bit loose off the corner. But the rubber is going to change how this racetrack drives a little bit, because it's so cool that any temperature change is going to be a big swing in the grip characteristics of this racetrack. And Tanner Sharp into pit road. 76 comes down. And we got a couple... Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say that he dived down, and from the looks of it, doesn't look like he has any damage. So for all we know, this is a scheduled stop. I wonder if he's probably trying to play some strategy. So we'll keep in mind and see if anyone else is coming in. Yep, Peter Short's coming down. It's not Peter Short. Paul Ross is coming down pit road.
Yeah, so the leader, Paul Ross, jumps down, and look at this. The battle for what was third now changing up a lot. You see Tate Lytle in the middle and Zielinski on the outside, but Peter Short on the inside now, and this is going to be interesting. If these guys are planning on coming to pit road, they're going to have to start thinking about it. So if we look at the lap time difference, it's about 2.5 seconds that we're seeing in terms of the lap time drop-off. You see middle 3 wide here. This is going to get dicey. The lap time drop-off is huge, so you can't let anybody get a huge undercut on you, and I think we're going to start to see some pit stops happening more in the pack here, but does anyone drop off from this group? No.
Yeah, Grunberg stays out. Thomas, Kingston. Also, a lot of these guys are staying out. Only really notables to pit so far is Tanner Sharp and Paul Ross. So
Paul Ross popping out there on the apron, exiting pit road here. You got to be careful. That blue commitment cone there on the back straightaway. You got to wait until you get there, and he can cross up onto the racetrack. But heading back up to this battle for now, it's second on the racetrack. Luis Salmaso is 2.2 seconds up the road. We're going to be 3 wide here for second here, as here comes Zielinski up the middle. 3 wide.
Again, this can go very bad very quickly, but Zielinski's going to make it work, and he's going to secure the position. Fantastic job there by Zielinski.
A great middle 3 wide move, and Zielinski takes over that second spot. We have more takers on pit road. Johnny Thomas is one that is the next one down, as well as Richard Hines, who is just leaving his box in that 87.
And you gotta wonder too now, since these guys kind of sorted themselves out, does anyone decide now to come down pit road?
I mean, I definitely would. I mean, why not get the undercut if you can? You're going to have to stop one more time, so you might as well come down now. And here comes Tate Lytle. Great move by the 56, and Matt Grunberg's going to come down with them, but look how much space Grunberg gained on the pit entry. It's a very tricky pit road to get down. You see the 52 pulling off as well. And it's also David Wilson in the 39 will come down. These are scheduled green flag pit stops, and Chad Brown will follow them down as well.
And if I was Zielinski or Short, I would be kind of worried of the fact that Grunberg came down as early as he came down the lap before. So you got to wonder now, does anyone decide to come in response? And it looks like Peter Short might.
He's thinking about it, but he's got the 18 right on his tail. Here comes Peter Short, an aggressive entry to pit lane. He's going to get it woed down, and he will. A very, very quick entry for him. Matt Kingston in the 65 Toyota Tundra. He's also going to join Short on pit lane as Salmaso continues to lead laps out up front. All right, well, 35 laps in, pit stops are underway, and again, the differential is 2 seconds between fresh and old tires, and that's going to mean a lot for Paul Ross, who is out on track several more laps than the guys behind him, so he will extend his lead after this, and of course, Luis Amasso still out on the racetrack. Maybe a different strategy for that Ford truck if he's waited this long.
Yeah, that really is telling me that these guys can definitely go a lot further on their fuel, at least, not entirely their tires. So it looks like this is just kind of playing some strategy, potentially trying to get the undercut. And Salmaso is just going to try to stretch it out. And I guess he's going to try to cut this race into 2 halves.
Yeah,
from the looks of it.
I believe the pit window is between 40 and 50 laps, so how close it is to 50 is going to determine when Salmaso comes in pits. And maybe also counting on a caution, maybe get himself ahead of the 18, but here comes Ross about to unlap himself from Salmaso. And here comes Ross down to the inside. Now flies right on by like he's stopped. And Levi Zielinski on pit road in the 59.
Yeah, so the big question is really to see where he comes out in comparison to everyone else.
Well, Tate Lytle's in turn 4 already here, Finian, so... Oh, excuse me, that's turn 2. But, so Tate Lytle is going to have a huge head of steam, and look, he's out in front of the 22 Peter Short, so the undercut worked for Tate Lytle, but look at Grunberg, he's closed up right to the rear bumper of Peter Short as well through those exchanges, as well as Johnny Thomas, he's back in the fight here in the 83.
Yeah, and Zielinski just left his pit stall, he's just out of pit road now, he's going to be accelerating on the apron, and will it be enough? It's definitely not. You see them go around. And
he's still got to get all the way around to turn 2 here before he can pull up on the racetrack. He's going to lose 3 or 4 spots, maybe even 5 in this exchange. So Zielinski says out a couple more laps, and that's going to change how the strategy works. There he goes, pulls up in front of the 27 of Thomas Morris. And again, those guys are the people fighting for those spots. So this is an important decision here for the 59 and the 27. And here comes the 27 down to pit lane now. All right, so let's check out back up front. Here comes Salmaso down to pit lane. So he is into pit road, as well as the 27 of Morris. Michael Whitley to follow.
Yeah, so that effectively concludes all the pit stops. So everyone has come in as of yet. So this should cycle out Paul Ross to lead within a lap or 2.
All right, well, the big change is going to be who's took over that second spot. It should be the 56 of Tate Lytle. A well-played strategy call for that 56 truck, but he didn't get very far because Peter Short is still right up on his tailgate, and Matt Grunberg is still charging forward. The real loser on that strategy was the 59 of Levi Zielinski. I'm not quite sure what the plan was there. Lost a ton of ground on the guys he was racing.
Yeah, I'm guessing he's going to try to bank on the fact that he'll have fresher tires than the guys ahead of him, so he's going to have to drive himself up there. So I'm guessing he's feeling confident in his ability to do that, so we'll see how it plays out in his hands. But meanwhile, I got Peter Short on the back quarter panel of Tate Lytle. You see them side by side down the front straightaway. Yeah,
almost a little bit of contact there on a turn 4. Peter Short got right up onto the left rear quarter panel of Lytle, and that's going to be a change for position. Move Peter Short to second, and Grunberg is 4th now, looking for 3rd as he's starting to close in on that number 56 truck. Oh, battle behind him. Levi Zielinski and Tanner Sharp there, Finian.
Yeah, so this is what I was talking about again. Zielinski has fresher tires. He's going to try to use that to his advantage, but he's going to have to. He has no choice really but to race up to the guys ahead of him to kind of even out the strategies. So we're going to have to keep an eye on that and how it goes for Zielinski.
Well, last time through, he was a little bit. I know he had to pass somebody. He was a little bit He's pretty much right on pace with the guys in front of him, so I'm not sure how much of an advantage it will be, but I guess we'll watch it play out. He was quick late in the run, so perhaps he can move himself right back up in there, but he is about 2.5 seconds behind Peter Short, who he was in front of prior to the pit stops. And you see Lytle now trying to defend from that 54 truck. Lytle's in the grass there on the front straightaway, trying to cut the front.
Yeah, and that just kind of shows you how these guys are trying to take every advantage they can get out of these trucks to gain on the people. And it's just really kind of shown tonight that these guys have very little off-throttle time when they're around here.
Very little off-throttle time indeed, but look at Paul Ross, who's been playing this strategy to a T. 8.8 seconds out in front of Peter Short. He's got this race well under control. Let's do a little through the field here, Finian. Let's start back with the guys we haven't talked a whole lot about tonight. And we'll start that with Todd Smith in 9th for that number 1 truck here, Finian. Started out in 6th and had to drop to the rear to fix out some internet issues, but here he is running 9th, looking good for him.
Yeah, he's doing a great job. And then ahead of him, we have Tanner Sharp in 8th, and he's doing a fantastic job as well. He fell back a little bit after those pit stops, but is looking to try to get ahead of Luis Almaso ahead of him.
And Matt Kingston in the 65, not a name I recognize a whole lot, so he must be a new entry here this week, or if he's been here in recent weeks, he's been flying under the radar. But Kingston in that number 65 Tundra, putting on a good show tonight in 10th, but behind him in 11th, James Miller in the 52 has had flashes of greatness, especially on the short track side of things here this year, but recently has struggled to have a good finish.
Yeah, and then behind him, Justin Cobb is doing some fantastic maneuvers in the middle part of that race when everyone was kind of clumped up. He's kind of single filed out now. He's only got the 39 David Wilson behind him.
All right, let's jump back up to 3rd. Lytle and Gruenberg, and there's the lap truck of Chuck Sweeting there in the 26, all in a group here, and we'll see if Sweeting is going to try to unlap himself, but here comes Gruenberg down to the inside to get around Tate Lytle. That'll be for the 3rd spot.
You can see Lytle kind of almost let Gruenberg by there. I guess he figured that he is faster. He's just going to try to kind of stick with him. But also in the back of the screen, you can see that Zielinski's trying to work his way now around Johnny Thomas. So that'll move Zielinski up into the top 5.
Yeah, so Zielinski is making a real good mid-run charge here to get back the spots he lost under the pit sequence. So Zielinski back ahead of that 27 truck, actually significantly ahead of that 27 truck. So Morris is not playing out the strategy quite as well as the 59, even though the 59 kind of had a scary blunder there coming down pit road later than his competitors. So Morris was not able to take advantage of that, and Morris right now is 16th. And I believe at the moment that puts the 59 truck in here, Finian. So, and we're almost halfway through the race, and that's, remember, points are awarded at the halfway point.
Yeah, points are awarded, same as the Cup Series when they award points at the end of stages. First gets 10 points, second gets 9, and so on until 10th. So this puts Zielinski in a very good position ahead of Morris. I think if he finishes right now, so Zielinski would gain 6 points purely off of that, so he'll only be 1 point behind Morris. And Morris is not having a good day at all. He's all the way back in 16th.
Well, meanwhile, the leader, Paul Ross, his gap has begun to shrink just a little bit. 7.7 seconds now. That's still a huge lead, but Peter Short starting to eat into it just a little bit.
Yeah, and this is, again, the fact that Paul Ross was on those tires a lot earlier than the rest of the field, so these guys now starting to gain just a little bit back, just kind of nibble into his lead. It shouldn't be anything too significant, though, because that 7.7 seconds is a big gap. So I think Paul Ross is still good. He might lose a little bit of his lead, but considering the way he's been driving all night, he shouldn't have much to worry about.
And does he have to worry about it? I mean, does he really have to run this hard? He can take a break for a little while. I mean, even if you give away a 10th a lap, you're still going to be leading easily by the end of the run here. So is Paul Ross in a position where he can just kind of relax a little bit at this point?
Oh, for sure. I definitely think he could relax, but it's kind of one of those things where you don't want to kind of fall off a little bit too much, maybe potentially make a mistake and then fall into the hands of your competitors. I think he's going to just try to run a decent pace as best as he can without completely forcing the issue so he can maintain the gap as best as possible.
All right, well, it's been a clean one so far here, Finian, but we're on lap 50, and at the conclusion of this lap, we're going to award halfway points to the top 10 runners. And like we said, that gives Levi Zielinski some points, and Thomas Morris will not get those. So we'll bring up a graphic here in just a moment to show you who's going to get those points and what the picture is going to look like, Finian, if you want to tally up those points and tell us what the gap will be. As we cross the line, Paul Ross will reach the halfway point first with Peter Short far behind him.
Yeah, I was gonna say too, Zelensky just got around Tate Lytle this lap, so he's gonna be in 4th.
All right, so here's your points picture here as we look at it. And that'll give Levi Zelensky 7 points to go towards the championship picture and the cut line.
Yeah, and that pretty much means that him and Morris right now are completely even in the championship fight. So this is completely swung in Zelensky's favor. All he has to do is just finish ahead of Morris, and he's got the spot. So he's doing a fantastic job tonight.
Yeah, and I think the way things are running, it's looking real good for that 59 truck. And all he's got to do is continue doing what he's doing. Let's head on back now, battle for 11th, Justin Colbin. Todd Smith in the 1. Smith still battling internet issues there, blinking in and out, but trying to hang on and catch that 24 truck for 11th. Well, Matt Grunberg has begun to hunt down the 22 of Peter Short here, Finian, and Levi Zelensky is also caught kind of back up to this mess. So I guess I was second-guessing Zelensky's strategy earlier, but he is closing in, and he has been running faster laps the last couple laps than the guys ahead of him.
Yeah, and also look at his line, too. He's running a lane off of the wall while everyone else is running towards the bottom, and he's going to get a huge run down this back straightaway. So it's going to be interesting to see now these guys kind of fan out, because definitely all 3 of them are going to be going for second place at one point. It's just a matter of who's going to win at the end.
You see we're riding on board now with Zelensky. You see look ahead. You see the 54 close right up to the rear bumper of Peter Short. Does Short slam the door? He does. Throws the car across the nose of the 54 on the front straightaway. They dive off into turn 1. Will they choose different lines? Peter Short's going to try to take the inside away from the 54 of Grunberg. An excellent defensive maneuver by Peter Short, but I don't know how long he's going to be able to hold that truck off.
Yeah, Grunberg's just been really, really strong. We again saw him march all the way up from 19th to where he is now. He's going to look to the inside of Peter Short. He's going to try to take second away. And
we've seen that outside line not work quite as well in turn 4 as it does in turn 2, but they're going to be a drag racing down the front straightaway, and Zelensky's going to come into this mess as well. And Grunberg will pass Short for second, but can he clear him down in turn 1 with the lap truck of Kyle Hanshaw on the outside? Will Short drive through the middle, or will he back out of it and give the spot up? Looks like he'll give the spot away. But will he fight back? He's got Zelensky coming now.
Yeah, it looks like he's going to try to look to the inside of Grunberg, though. It's going to be kind of hard to tell. Does he have the preferred line at this point?
And to the inside goes Peter Short. He'll take that spot away. Can he clear the 54? Doesn't look like it. And now Grunberg's going to have that run from the outside lane. Does Zelensky push the 22, or does he go to the outside? Looks like he's going to look to the outside of Peter Short. Short slams the door on him. There's contact heading off into turn 1.
That could have been very bad there, but just a little bit of a wiggle. But I gotta imagine that Zelensky's not happy with it. And you can see there's Zelensky trying to charge in late on the outside of Short, and Short's trying to still close him off. And we got an aggressive battle on our hands here for third.
These guys are running cutthroat here, and Zelensky's got something to lose. Peter Short's fine. He doesn't need to worry about this, but Zelensky in that 59 truck, he had to be careful here because he's really the one with most at stake out of this group of 3 drivers, and Grunberg's just out here for the win.
If you look right behind them, some trucks have caught up as well. Luis Almaso and Lytle are kind of catching up to this group, so we almost have a 5-way battle for second here. Remember,
Salmaso has significantly fresher tires than the other guys in this group. About 8 laps fresher than the leader, Paul Ross. So Salmaso's got a little bit of an advantage in trying to close back in, as Zelensky had done just to a lesser extent. That draft train snaking onto the apron on the front straightaway. But Peter Short trying to hold off Zelensky, and Zelensky looks to the outside now. It's going to be hard to defend that run off of turn 2. We've seen the high line work much better on that end of the racetrack. Here he comes to the outside. Into the wall, Zelensky bounces off.
And here comes Samasa now with the charge to the inside of Zelensky. Looks like he might be able to do it, but Zelensky's going to try to hold him off on the outside.
Is there damage to the 59 truck there, Finney? Looks like there might be.
Yeah, well, looks like there might be. Just doesn't seem to be anything too serious. Might just affect him a little bit, but nothing significant. He's just going to have to kind of get his head back down and look for a position. But speaking of looking for a position, here comes Salmaso looking to the inside of Short.
Salmaso aggressive now on the rear bumper of Peter Short. Short's been extremely defensive now, and Zelensky's got to be a little bit frustrated because I think the 22 ran him up the racetrack out of turn 2. Perfectly legal defensive move, but I think the 59 probably a little bit hot inside that pink and black truck right now. Look at Short defending from the 4, door to door in 3 and 4.
Yeah, he did not give him any room, but Samasa's not going to care. He's going to have just barely a nose over short as they cross the line. He's going to be scored in third place, but he's going to still have to struggle to clear short.
Short drives it in deep in 1 and 2. He is driving so aggressively right now. He's just out here for the win. He doesn't care. Out of turn 2 now, side by side. Zielinski's back with a head of steam.
Yeah, these two trucks are extremely even with each other, and Zielinski really has nowhere else to go.
And what lane do you choose if you're Zielinski? The 22 truck's been running up the racetrack. The 4 truck running that bottom lane where Zielinski hasn't been quite as quick. So where do you go here? There's not a whole lot of choices.
I was going to say, if anything, he probably should work with the 4, but it's kind of hard to tell considering how even of them, because they're kind of having a tug of war in the corners and on the straightaways as one driver's winning and one's losing.
Off of turn 2 again, Zielinski runs high, trying to use the draft from the 22 truck, but look who's joined the battle again. Tate Lytle in the 56 has joined.
So we got a 4-way fight now for third place, and all these trucks really have a shot of it, and they're all really close together.
Off of turn 4 now. And the 4 truck side by side with the 22, but Short's going to eke ahead. Can Short clear him down into turn 1? He's been driving off real deep here lately, but not quite. Samaso drives in deep into the corner as well, drops to the bottom. And they're going to be door-to-door off of turn 2 down the back straightaway with Zielinski in tow.
You can see now Zielinski's just got a fender in on the outside, or actually just a little bit too far. But he's trying to get a fender in on the outside of Samaso as they head now coming out of 4. But you can see that Short just kind of winning almost. It looked like Samaso was winning earlier on, but it looks like Short is just able to keep ahead just by a bit.
And running side by side, he's eating up the tires on that 4 truck. He had a big tire advantage, but the more you keep it tucked against that white line, the more you're going to eat your tires and the harder it's going to get. So the 4 has really got to clear that 22 if he wants to have any shot at going up there to catch Gruenberg, who has now shaved a second off of Paul Ross's lead while all this is going on behind him. An incredible battle for third place right now. It's been going on for about 10 laps, and it has no signs of letting up just yet as Zielinski clears Lytle and is going to try to get back around the 4 and the 22 once again.
Yeah, he's going to try his hardest, but it's just a matter of, is it enough? And it looks like Zielinski's almost trying to make a third line work. He's going to look to the way outside. But again, it just seems like it's not enough to really kind of get anywhere.
Maybe not, but I think if these two get door-to-door again, there's a little bit of contact. He could slip around the outside. I'm thinking Auto Club 2013 when Kyle Busch and got around the outside of Hamlin and Logano as they made contact there. I think that's a similar move that Zielinski could make. But again, all Zielinski has to do is finish ahead of that 27 truck, and he's doing that. So would you put yourself in a dangerous position here, Finian, if you're the 59?
Oh, honestly, I wouldn't. I really wouldn't, because looking in the bigger picture, Morris is in 13th, and he at this point, as far as we know, he only has to just finish ahead of him. If anything, just has to finish ahead of him by a few positions. So he's well in the good in that aspect. But I definitely think he wants to at least get ahead of Peter Short, because I don't think they're on happy terms at the moment. And
Salmaso has cleared the 22 of Peter Short, and now the battle is going to be for that 5th spot with Lytle and Zielinski, and Lytle's gotten to the inside, and they're going to be running door-to-door through the corner, and these guys got about 3-lap fresher tires on the 59 than on the 56. So Zielinski has a tire advantage, but he's been running way up against the wall, and maybe that damage hurting his speed just a little bit on the straightaways.
And it looks like Lytle is going to win out on this fight. He's going to be able to clear Zielinski now for 5th place, and Zielinski's going to have to settle back for 6th.
Leader pit road here, Finian. Paul Ross back down, and this will be his final stop of the day.
Yeah, so now we're going to see now who is going to follow in tow. And we saw last time around a bunch of guys pitting at different times. It all kind of converged at the end. So now, does everyone kind of go on the same strategy, or do people start to differentiate?
I think Matt Gruenberg's got to do something here, and he's going to come back down. He's going to mirror the 18. He's making up ground, but he's going to have to do a lot of work here without a caution. He has still about 6 seconds to make up, so Gruenberg responds immediately to the challenge posed by Paul Ross. Matt Kingston in the 65 also on pit lane.
Salmaso was really slow coming out of 4, and I wonder if he thought about pitting, but yeah, he did. He thought about pitting, but wasn't able to get slowed down in time. So now he's going to drop in behind these guys.
Yeah, so Salmaso gives up a bunch of spots. He'll have to be back to what was 5th prior to Paul Ross jumping down pit lane. Or actually 6th it would have been. But he's going to try again, and here comes Short, Lytle, and the 4 of Salmaso. All the pit lane, Salmaso sliding. Excuse me, that was the 56 and the 22 are both sliding. And Levi Zielinski is still out on track here, Finian. Same strategy as last time?
Yeah, and I mean, if it worked for you once, it should technically work again. And he was able to pull it off, so I think he'll be able to do it again. So I think a strong move by him, trying to do something different than his competitors.
Well, Thomas Morris is servicing off a pit lane, and the rest of the field is there now as well. Got about 10 trucks left to pit. Levi Zielinski still out on track. Christopher Munger in the 55 in that Toyota Tundra. He's still out on the racetrack, along with Richard Hines, Michael Whitley. And Paul Ross is completed, and he is out on track right now, running very good lap times. And let's see where Grunberg cycles in 6.4. So Grunberg actually did close in a couple tenths here, but he's got a lot of work to do if he wants to catch that 18.
And I feel like he potentially can, but it kind of comes down to Paul Ross also making some mistakes, but I don't see him doing considering the way he's been driving all night long. And I think he's pretty much led every single lap. Yeah,
I think he has as well there, Finney. And Paul Ross has not had any competition here tonight. Been caution-free so far at Chicagoland. 16 minutes left in this race if it goes green. We've been flying through the laps here tonight. The racing's been rough and clean, and Paul Ross has put himself in a position to dominate this race from start to finish. But Levi Zielinski down on pit lane here, Finney, and so this is really the question mark. Where does he pop out in relation to the 22, the 56, and the 4?
Well, right now the 4 and the 56 are locked in a battle on track, and shortly behind them, Peter Short is also there. So I think Short didn't really get as good of a stop as these other two. But yeah, big question is, where does Zielinski come out in all this?
Yeah, Peter Short a second slower on his pit stop as compared to the guys in front of him, so obviously a little bit of a slow stop for the 22 crew. Here comes Salmaso to the inside of Tate Lytle on the front straightaway. Can he clear him heading off into turn 1? Looks like he will. And, well, Lytle's going to drive into the door, take the air off the spoiler, and try to tuck him real close to the inside lane here to get a run off the corner.
Oh, I was going to say, Zielinski was very slow on his pit stops. He was still getting service as the guys around him went by him, but he actually, looking back, Zielinski spun on entry to pit road.
Oh, we didn't even catch that. That's a major, I don't want to sound like Rick Allen, but that's some pretty interesting championship implications here, Finney. And you're right. Comes into pit road and onto brakes, locks him up, and spins it around, and that's huge for Zielinski. Where's the 27 truck? In front of him, 12th on the racetrack with 28 laps to go.
Man, can you say drama? Because this is what it's coming down to. So Zielinski, and he's actually, Morris is about ahead of him by half a track. So this cost him a lot of time. And this is, again, how quickly your run could turn from good to worse. And all it takes is one mistake. So Zielinski's going to really have to settle down and go hard the next 30 laps trying to pass him.
That's a long way to go there, Finney, and I don't know about that. That's a long way to go. And we're closing in on 25 laps to go. He's got to come up with about 2 corners worth of speed on the racetrack. He's been quicker than Morris all night, but I don't know if that's going to be enough without a caution.
Yeah, and again, to reiterate, we do believe that these guys are about even, including the halfway bonus points that these guys are given. So it's pretty much going to come down to who's going to finish ahead of one another. So it is very close in terms of the battle, but it's really now a matter of can Zielinski drive up to Morris.
I mean, it's going to be down to the very end if he's got a shot at it here, if anything, but he's got so much time to make up. I don't think it's possible in 25 laps without a caution, and we've been caution-free so far, and we don't really have anyone running tight enough to really be a threat for a caution. It's been fast, it's been grippy, and it could be championship hopes over for that 59. A simple mistake heading onto pit lane for that 59 truck. Ran a flawless night, was running inside the top 5, comes down to pit lane for the final stop of the day, and loops it on the brakes on corner entry. And that's all it takes here, Finian. A couple points is the difference.
Well, actually, looking at their lap times, it looks like Zielinski's almost 9/10 of a second faster, give or take a few tenth or two, than Morris. So he's putting in some really fast laps at the moment. But again, it's just a matter of, is it enough? So we'll have to keep an eye on this as it goes on. It might come down to being really close.
Well, Thomas Morris is the last truck on the lead lap. You see Paul Ross right here behind him. But then you got to look a couple seconds back behind that 27 truck to find Chad Brown. He's the first truck 1 lap down. Then it's Richard Hines, then it's Munger, and then it's Zielinski coming out of turn 4. So Zielinski's in turn 4 right now. Thomas Morris is in the middle of 1 and 2. That's so much ground to make up, and we are coming to 20 to go. There's only 12 minutes left, Finney, and that's a lot more time than I think, or a lot less time than Zielinski needs to come up with a championship run here today. drama, and we mentioned how well the night was going for that 59. And after digging himself out of a potential penalty at Talladega, ran really well, as you mentioned it, Finian. But the one who's been being very careful about everything, Thomas Morris, has played it very safe, has not torn up a lot of trucks, been running real conservative, and we didn't think it would work out. We thought he was being too conservative, but here he is now running 11th. You're not really making a whole lot of mistakes here today, just running a solid race. And he, right now, looks like to be the shoe-in for the 4th driver for next week's Homestead finale. Checking back in with the battle for 3rd, Salmaso, Lytle, and Short. It's kind of a little bit less drama than it was earlier, but Salmaso back out in front of the group, and Lytle and Short behind him.
Yeah, so these guys are still going to be going at it, and they've pretty much been attached to each other at the hip for the last 50 laps. They've been going at it for a very long time with no clear winner in sight.
All right, Finian, let's look at the current situation for Zielinski. Right now, he's 3 seconds behind Richard Hines, who is in turn 2 seconds behind Chad Brown, who is in turn 3.1 behind Morris. With 20 laps to go, the championship hopes are beginning to slip away from the 59. And I think time is running out for him. I think he needs a caution. And the only place where I could potentially see it coming is between Lytle and Short here for 4th. These guys are going to get real racy.
Yeah, definitely so. I think that's really where it's going to come down to it.
Should the caution come out, I think the 59 is easily not going to have an issue. He'll grab tires and charge through the field. But again, if it stays green like it has been all 80 laps so far, I think that 59 is out.
Yeah, this is something really I haven't seen all season. Not that these guys do cause a lot of wrecks. It's just that we haven't seen a completely caution-free. And that's even just a rarity in itself, seeing a race, even in real life, just seeing a race go green flag to flag. So there's definitely potential for it to happen, but considering now how spread out these trucks are this late in the race, it's kind of hard for it to come out.
Yeah, and you mentioned it, Vinny, and I think part of the reason is the track is 65 degrees Fahrenheit. That is grippy and fast, and it's not going to let these trucks step out very much, so I'm sure it's a joy to drive right now, but certainly not helping guys that need the caution. See Peter Short driving real deep on the rear tailgate of the 56 truck of Lytle, and I think, not the 59 is aware of this, but he could really use that 56 going around off the bumper of the 22 right now. Look at Short running up against the wall. Trying to tuck it back in line. 17 laps to go at the line. Paul Ross has a 5.2 second lead over Grunberg, and that's another guy. Grunberg has come from 19th to 2nd within 5 seconds of the leader over the course of this race without the help of cautions. That is impressive.
Yeah, it really is kind of understated. And I mean, he has a decent shot, all things considered, at getting at Paul Ross if a caution comes out. But again, it's the big if the caution comes out. And from what we've seen tonight, it looks like it's pretty much not going to happen. But you can't say that 19th to 2nd is bad at all. He's going to have to be really proud of himself with that.
Peter Short now looking to the inside of Lytle. He's going to slip up mid-corner. Lytle's going to chop him on exit. Side by side, Short's going to lose the run, and Lytle will drive right back around the outside. And that is the 94 truck of Michael Whitley behind them, who's 16th, 1 lap down, and solidly out of the playoff picture, and will be eliminated after the race here tonight. Checking back in with Zielinski here, Finian.
Yeah, I was looking at the lap before off of 2, he actually hit the wall and had a little shake down the back straightaway trying to recover from that, but he's pushing really, really hard. And I've been just constantly watching him trying to reel in Morris than he was at this point, but that little hit to against the wall might kind of ruin his hopes.
Again, still about 5 seconds back from Thomas Morris. Again, he's done a great job reeling him in, but just we're going to run out of laps. That mistake was too late in the day to recover from. That 27 got that stat. Toyota Tundra running real nice right now in 11th. Again, hasn't really done a whole lot in the playoffs here. Been just very conservative and very steady. And I guess the slow and steady might win the race here tonight. If he goes on to Homestead, he can look back at Talladega and say, keeping himself in the back was a good idea. You know, keeping yourself out of trouble at New Hampshire, also a good idea. Thomas Morris has played this extremely well. His paid a lot of attention to the numbers here, and it's going to put him in a great position to move on to next week.
I was going to say, we've all heard the story about the tortoise and the hare. Tortoise was the one that won, spoiler alert. But we're kind of pretty much seeing it play out here. And again, you gotta really feel for Zielinski. It's just that one mistake that cost him, but he couldn't afford to make a mistake, and that's going to end up taking him out of this. And again, we still have some time, but it's looking less and less likely that he can catch Thomas Morris.
Yeah, again, I mean, you think about Zielinski, though. He's had raw pace, but there's been so many mistakes this year by this 59, either on pit road or out on the racetrack. He's gotten himself spun around more times than he needs to have, and also getting himself in a wreck involved at Talladega, that didn't help either. So Zielinski has had a ton of pace, is extremely fast, and honestly, next week at Homestead, I think the 59 would be more of a threat than the 27 come down to the championship hunt. But you got to be there, you got to play the points game, and that's what the 27 of Morris is doing so much better than Zielinski this part of the playoffs.
Well, right now the gap is looking to be about half a straightaway. So it is kind of close. If anything, it's going to come down for them being bumper and bumper, but we're going to keep an eye on this as it goes on. But looking at everyone else, it looks to be relatively spread out due to the fact that we've gone green, pretty much green the entire way since the drop of the green flag at the start of this race. So nothing really in sight. As you saw, Kyle Hanshaw actually got in the wall there. He's really off the pace on the bottom.
Kyle Hanshaw in the 46 truck. Yeah, it smoked the wall at that 46. Let's go take a quick look at it. Off into turn 3. That's kind of a weird spot to hit it here, Finian, but let's ride on board with the 46 down the back straight. Oh, just misjudged. The safer barrier actually extends out from the concrete there and just misjudged it just enough, and he continued to rub the wall all through 3 and 4. And it just kind of grabs you and makes it real hard to get off of, and the 46 not having a very good night in 20th, 2 laps down. 10 laps to go here. Paul Ross has a 4.5-second lead over Matt Gruenberg. Luis Almaso is a couple seconds behind him, and Tate Lytle is a 0.7 of a second behind him as well. Peter Short 1.6 back from there. Again, if we're looking at Zielinski versus Morris, Zielinski's still got work to do, but now it's down to about 3 seconds. So it has come down quite a bit here, Finian. He is running quicker than Morris, so it's not over yet, but he's got to get up on that wheel and go.
This is really a nail-biter, honestly. Looks like Morris has got some faster trucks behind him that are going to potentially pass him. So that's going to put him out of the racing line. Zielinski's still charging, so it's kind of up in the air at this point. It could be very close, could be very far. We just kind of don't know as we come down the final 10 laps of this race.
Well, looking at the last time through, Zielinski was almost a half a second quicker, and that might get him there if he continues to run that pace. So you see right now, Morris has got to deal with the 52 truck, and you mentioned it, Finney, it's going to put him off the racing line. Here comes second place driver Matt Gruenberg in that Jegs 54 Tundra, and he's closing in as well. So this is going to spice things up here a little bit. 8 laps to go now, and Morris has to hold on to this, and it might be closer than we thought it was going to be, but I still think that Zielinski is in an offensive position right now, and Morris is, all he has to do is be defensive here.
Yeah, I mean, as you see now, Gruenberg go by and Richard Hines behind, it's really just all coming down to this. It's a battle for 11th place, but it's the battle for the ticket to Homestead, Miami, so a lot on the line for this one position. 4/10
quicker again for Zielinski that time through. And looking off the nose, you can see that 27 truck up there, the red spoiler right behind that 54 truck. He's the guy he's chasing. You can see it out the front windshield. I don't know if he knows that that's what he's got to do here, Finian, but he's looking out that windshield. He sees that 27 truck. He knows that that's the guy he's fighting, but he's got to get there with 7. Now coming to 6 laps to go the next time through, and Paul Ross is going to take that 6 to go. 4.1 seconds to Gruenberg, and that lead is slimmed down quite a bit, but not going to be enough for Gruenberg if it stays green.
Yeah, Gruenberg gave it his all. He's closing in. He probably could have done it in another 25 to 50 laps, but it's just not enough. But again, not too bad compared to where he started. Started 19th all the way up to 2nd, so great day for him. So I'm also running strong in 3rd, Lytle in 4th. Short's going to come home in 5th from the looks of it, as all these guys are pretty much spread out at this point.
All right, so Zielinski's got about 2.5 seconds. He's 1 position away here, Finian. 1 position away. It's 2.5 seconds. It's 5 laps, but that's such a huge distance to make up, and Thomas Morris is getting himself clear of traffic, and all he's got to do is run home and keep that 59 behind him. And what a painful reality it would be for Zielinski to be 1 point short of Homestead. And again, we don't have the official point situation, but we believe that it's 1 point. It's either the 27 or the 59, whoever finishes in front of the other, and right now they're 12th and 13th on the racetrack.
Yeah, and if anything, he had to finish ahead of Morris at the very least, so he has to at least be ahead of him to gain any points on him, so that's pretty much what we're looking at this point.
2.3 seconds, another 2/10, but he's got to be taking big chunks out of it, Finian, not little chunks, and last time through was a little chunk, and he's going to have to come up with some real creativity the next couple laps if he expects to have a shot at it. Tate Lytle and Peter Short are nose to tail again on the back straightaway.
Yeah, this is gonna looks like this is gonna spice things up here in the closing laps.
And Short's gonna drive right around him here, but does Lytle fight back? He does on the outside. They're gonna be drag race into the line. Looks like Lytle will beat the 22.
Yeah, they're separated by 0.03 of a second at the line. That's how close they were. And it looks like Short has the stronger truck, but Lytle's still trying to put up a fight here, and you can't blame him. It's the last 2 laps, but it looks like Short's going to clear him.
They're still dogging each other down the straightaway. Peter Short coming up right in front of Lytle. Lytle's going to drive in right on the rear quarter panel of the 22, but he's going to arrow wash out from behind him and not going to be able to get much out of that. Meanwhile, Zielinski 1.8 seconds, but it's just 2 laps to go, Finian. 1.7 now the difference.
I was gonna say Morris. It looks like Morris might have to put it in the wall at this point. I just don't think Zielinski has the tires left to do anything.
It's just the time is running out. If another 10 laps, I think that 59 would be able to get him here. But we only have 2 to go. Paul Ross now takes the white flag here at Chicago. One more time around for a dominant day for Paul Ross. Matt Gruenberg 3.2 back. He won't be a factor at all. But what a dominant day for that 18 of Paul Ross, Finian. Just absolutely killing it out there on raw pace. It was quicker than everybody all night under green flag conditions. Didn't have any cautions to worry about. And he is solidly sitting in, looking for another victory here this season. And won Talladega a couple weeks ago. It comes out of turn 4 at Chicagoland Speedway and will win here in the playoffs. He's going to Homestead with the momentum from a victory in Chicago.
Yeah, behind them, Matt Gruenberg. He's going to come home in second after doing a fantastic job all night. But more importantly, Thomas Morris just came across the line and he's ahead of Levi Zielinski. And we're pretty sure that that's all it's going to take, and it should be Thomas Morris in the last playoff spot heading to Homestead, Miami.
We're going to get confirmation as soon as we can about the playoffs for next week. But what it should be is the 83, the 18, the 22, and the 27 as your championship contenders for next week. We will get confirmation, again, as soon as we can. But Thomas Morris might have played those cards just right, and the mistake from Zielinski might have been just enough to keep him out. Meanwhile, Peter Short and Tate Lytle finished 4th and 5th. And they'll come home, and that'll round out your top 5. Johnny Thomas in 6th. Justin Kolbe, nice finish in 7th. Tanner Sharp, 8th. David Wilson, 9th. And Richard Hines, a solid top 10 here, Finian. But what a race that was from flag to flag. Green flag racing. Paul Ross dominates. And the playoff picture in turmoil for the 27 and the 59.
Yeah, it was amazing how it turned out from the beginning of the race, within the first 20-25 laps. It pretty much looked like it was going to be a clear sweep for Zielinski in his favor, but that mistake on pit road with him spinning out on entry might have just cost, or pretty much should have just cost him that championship spot. And it's again, it just highlights how quickly things can turn for the worse here if you're not careful.
And again, Zielinski might have done that, and oh, that's not too bad. We can get a yellow, but the way things were tonight, it's always unpredictable. It's the first race we've had all season that went caution-free, and of course, that is what put Zielinski in such a hard spot. If he misses it by 1 point, he's going to be kicking himself after tonight. We'll go to break. We'll be back with you in just a couple minutes, get some confirmation on the playoff positions, and we'll talk to your winner in just a moment. All right, welcome back here to SimTV. So, okay, we got a couple things to run over. First, the playoff situation next week to Homestead Miami Speedway to have a shot at the championship. The 83, the 18, the 22, and the 59 are the ones that are in on points for Homestead. Finian was reading the graphic a little bit wrong there.
Yeah, it turns out apparently I cannot read. You would think a guy in college would be able to, but apparently not. So yeah, we got that mixed up. We had to swap around the 27 and the 59. So Zielinski was to the good pretty much after that spin, and I'm guessing he pretty much knew that. He's just trying to drive up there. It looked like from the way he was driving, like he
certainly
was
would have been exciting had it been the way we thought it was going. So we were entertained for sure about that fact. But Zielinski in on points, and even with the mistake, will manage to move himself on through to Homestead Miami next week. So Johnny Thomas, Paul Ross, Peter Short, and Levi Zielinski will be your championship 4 heading into Homestead next week. And speaking of the championship 4, one of them is Paul Ross. Let's talk to him. Hey, Paul Ross, Kyle from the SimTV booth. You got a copy?
Yes, I do.
All right. Well, that was... domination is probably not strong enough of a word today. Started on pole and then absolutely destroyed everybody. You had a charging Matt Gruenberg coming from all the way back from 19th on the grid up to second, 3 seconds back, but not enough to catch you today.
Yeah, towards the last, I don't know, 20 laps or so, I started watching the relative. I know Matt was pretty good on the longer run, and I believe he pit the lap after I did, which was going to put us on fairly even tires. And the track was so tight off of 2 and off of 4 that once we got down to about 20 laps to go, I just started watching the relative and taking it easy off the corners just to make sure I didn't make some stupid mistake and destroy a good race car.
Well, we look at this racetrack. It's a 1.5 mile oval here, Paul, and next week we head to another 1.5 mile oval, but it's extremely different. What is there anything you can take away from your dominance here at Chicago that will help you next week at Homestead?
Homestead, it kind of is a rhythm track. You definitely want to hit the apex just right, and if you can do that, you can get off the corner and carry the speed down the straights, kind of like tonight was. Homestead is a track that we usually run fairly good at, so just need to do what we did tonight, and qualify good, run some clean laps, and take care of the car.
All right, well, I'm going to put you in a decision-making mode here. It's the white flag at Homestead. Peter Short's leading. You're right behind him heading into turn 3. What's the situation in your head? What do you do with the car?
Oh, he's going home on a trailer. We're taking home the championship.
Well, ain't no love lost between those two. But yeah, so are you afraid to lay the bumper in turn 3, or you're going to move him?
I might give him a nudge going in. I'm not going to just straight up wreck him. Peter and I, we've ran together a lot the last couple of years, and I don't think that we've ever had any severe issues between the two of us. The B car championship actually came down to the two of us last year at Homestead. So I have nothing but respect for the guy, and I know he'll race me clean as well. So.
All right. Well, a solid race for Paul Ross here today. And look, next week at Homestead, we wish you the best of luck. Thanks for talking to us, and we'll see you later.
Yep. Thanks. Have a good night, you guys.
You too. All right. Next guy we're going to talk to in the booth is second place finisher Matt Gruenberg. And Matt, what an incredible drive that was from 19th on the grid up to second, and you just came up 3 seconds short. If you had another 15, 20 laps, you might have had him.
Yeah, it was really fun. That's for sure.
When you were closing in on Paul Ross in the late stages, you came out of the pits probably about 5.5, 6 seconds behind. Did you think you had something for him, or did you know you're going to be just a little bit short coming to the end?
Well, I definitely raced as hard as I could in that final, 30 laps, I think it was, or 33. Definitely harder than I did in the first 66, but I knew it was going to be tough getting to him, and it would take a major mistake from him for me to even get there. But I'd say coming up 3 seconds short is a win in my book, and it was a good win for Paul Ross too. He ran a good race, mistake-free. So
absolutely, it was well done by you, Matt. But next week at Homestead, there's a championship going on. Is your objective still to go out there and win, or is it more steer clear of the guys fighting for the championship?
I'm definitely always going to try to go for the win, but if I'm racing around one of the playoff guys, I'll probably give him a lot of room. And other than that, yeah, we're definitely going to try to go out for the win. We'll probably qualify next week. Just kind of something I do is I don't qualify after I win a league race. So Just makes it a little bit more fun.
Oh, so it was fun to watch for sure. But thanks for talking to us, Matt. Another strong performance by that 54 Jags Tundra today.
Yep, thank you.
All right, next person in the booth. We got to wait and see who Finian's going to grab. It's Luis Almaso, driver of the number 4 truck, and that was quite an entertaining race. You had some great battles there with the 22 and the 56, and slipped back a little bit earlier on strategy, but climbed your way back through the field. Tell us about your race and how you came up P3 tonight.
Well, good night, guys. Well, it was fun. It was fun. We managed to qualify up front. Not almost got the front row locked in for 3OG, which would be nice, but managed to start really well right behind Paul. When he jumped, I was right behind him, and we managed to pull away from everybody. When people started to pit, he made the decision because he was in front. He's fighting for the championship, the whole thing. So he mapped everybody out. I stayed out just to see if the strategy would work out. That kind of didn't work, backfire a little bit, because it put me all the way to the back in traffic. And when I was trying to pass everybody out, it was too hard to race side by side. I think I ran 10 laps with Peter side by side, burning the shit out of my tires. Pardon my language. And that was it. I didn't have enough time to go get Matt. I think I was, by the end of the run, I was getting about like 5 or 6 tenths out of the difference. But we were so even. The being overcast, the temperature being like this, it doesn't allow you to really have different lines, different ways of driving. It's pretty much a super speedway on this thing. So, but it is what it is. It was fun to go around 100 laps under green, which is always a good thing. Shows that the quality of these guys, that everybody can keep their car on the track. So we'll see. We'll see what will happen. It was a pretty good warm-up for tomorrow. Tomorrow running the Cup cars, the same track. Have 2 of my teammates, both Paul and Sam, continue on the playoffs. So hopefully we can help them out with another solid run.
All right. Well, thanks for talking to us in a solid 3rd place finish, and we'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
You too. All right, Finian, let's talk to Levi Zielinski, driver number 59, and you're in on points, and we have to apologize because if you go back and watch this broadcast later, you'll think that you were doing all the math wrong, but it was actually on our end, and you were actually plus 14 to the cut line, and we thought you were down on the cut line after we read a minus as a plus and a plus as a minus.
Oh.
So you are solidly in even after a mistake tonight. Tell us how your race went, because we know it started to unravel there, but on that second pit stop.
Yeah, second pit stop we blew. I thought I was going to take it easier than that, and then realized I didn't slow down enough getting into pit road. Just spun it around and pulled a little chuck. Unfortunately, we knew then once I spun, I knew I had at least enough points to not worry about it, and just kind of brushed it off and was still able to come home just 1 position behind Thomas, which was good. For the race though itself, like we just had the high side rolling all night. After about 10-15 laps, I think we were one of the first cars to go up there and just test out the waters. It was always fast up there. It's just very hard to pass once other people started doing it, and unfortunately there's some people just not giving enough room, but it is what it is. I mean, we had a good fun battle between me, Tate, and Peter at about halfway point.
All right, well, let's talk next week here, because I saw you fighting with the 22. The 83 was behind you for most of the race, but yeah. The 22 and the 18 are really probably the ones to beat next week at Homestead. And again, it's another 1.5 mile racetrack known for multi-groove racing. How do you attack that place any differently than you attack a place like Chicago?
For me, it's about the same. Honestly, I run the high side there too, and it's all about momentum there. So I think we'll do pretty well. Like I said, I'm not going to give Peter a bunch of room next week for sure. I'm tired of letting off for him on the straightaways and get in when he just wants to put his nose where it is. So if it happens, it happens next week. He just may see the wall if he tries to do it to me again, unfortunately. I'm just tired of letting off for people at this point. But, I mean, it should be a good battle between him and Paul, and, I mean, hopefully we can get in there. I mean, we're probably the underdogs going in for sure, but it should be a good race.
All right, well, congratulations on making it in. Again, we apologize. Again, you'll probably have fun watching the fictional battle we had going on with you and Thomas. Because we had you coming up one spot short, and we thought you needed to pass the 27, and you almost got there.
Hey, it probably gave me more TV time, so I don't care.
Yeah, for sure. But all right, well, it's good talking to you. We'll hopefully talk to you as a champion next week. We'll see how that all rolls out. But good race tonight for you.
No problem, guys. You guys have a good night.
You too.
Yep.
All right, Finian, is that anybody else you want to chat with?
I think we're good.
All right. Well, that was certainly a race to remember there, Finian. Flag to flag, green flag racing. We have not actually done any of that in any race on this channel in terms of oval racing. I don't think we've ever done a flag to flag, green flag race. But what a race it was, and dominance for Paul Ross, and that's got to surely put him as the favorite for next week at Homestead, right?
Oh, definitely. So, and again, it just kind of shows that, Peter Short was, I would still say the truck to beat, but there definitely are some strong guys in there. Paul Ross and Zielinski, and I would say even the 83 has got a good shot at it. So really it could come down to anyone, and that's probably the best thing to look forward to in a championship fight, especially with this system that they're using, is that it can essentially come down to any driver. So Homestead next week should be a really fun race to watch.
Yeah, and again, I think Paul Ross has turned on the heat at the right time, and I think the mid part of the season, Peter Short really shined, and Paul Ross was just kind of conservatively getting top 5, top 10 finishes, but here he is back at the top of the board, 2 wins the last 3 weeks, and certainly showing his stuff, but excellent racing all around, and we'll be back next Sunday night for Homestead Miami Speedway and the championship fight for the Nathan Young Designs Truck Series, and it's going to be a good one for sure. Again, your top 4 are in the green there at the bottom, and the 5, the 44, the 27, and 94 are limited here tonight at Chicago, and we'll see you next week. Thanks for watching. The next thing we got on tap for you is Tuesday night Fuel Cup Series racing from Darlington. It's throwback night. It's going to be a throwback broadcast. We're going to be broadcasting it all old style, and it's going to look real fun, so hopefully you join us there for that. And then Thursday night we have Ferrari Challenge back again. And then Saturday, I think, is we're off on Saturday, I believe. So it'll be next Sunday after that as well. But thanks for watching, and we'll see you on Tuesday night.